I'd like to call this regular council meeting to order. Before we proceed further, I'd like to acknowledge that the land upon which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Adirondack, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe people. We are the beneficiaries of ancient agreements, such as the dish with one spoon, between the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee, who agreed to share the abundance of the land through peace, friendship, and mutual respect. The two-row wampum, by which the Haudenosaunee welcomed the settlers and agreed to share the land in mutual respect, and the Treaty of Niagara, considered a fundamental document by First Nations in all future relations and treaties with the British. We recognize that we have a responsibility to be stewards of the land in cooperation and collaboration with the Indigenous peoples, not only for one generation, but for all generations to come. We understand that we have an obligation to learn the lessons of our history, educate ourselves about the experiences of the Indigenous people, and seek opportunities to heal the wounds that will result in reconciliation with our Indigenous sisters and brothers. Many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people live and work in Fort Erie. We stand with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. We have the good fortune to live in a land of such abundance, diversity, and beauty. Let us be vigilant in protecting Turtle Island. And would you all please rise for the invocation?
We meet to serve our community and endeavor to be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us. Let us be concerned only for what will promote good government. May we bring to our council chamber minds that think and hearts that feel, so that in our deliberations we may display imagination, wisdom, and courage, and the will to do our work for the good of all.
Thank you. And Madam Clerk, the roll call, please.
All members of council, with the exception of Councillor McDermott, are present, Your Worship.
Thank you. And I understand that Councillor Insin is unable to attend tonight's meeting as well?
Yes, that's correct.
There is no addendum. There are no announcements this evening. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Madam Clerk, I'm going to declare a pecuniary interest with respect to the public meeting and the report relative to the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment for the Hibbert Street property. So that would be item 12.1 and item 12.2, PBBS 56-2025. Since my law office is located within the notification area, and my former law partner's estate is dealing with the owner of the property. So I will ask Councillor Christensen to assume the chair for both the public meeting and the report, and she's been good enough to accept. If there are no other declarations of pecuniary interest, then there are no notices of public meetings or open houses. We do have a closed session agenda. Councillor Dubanow, you have the resolution for us to move into closed session.
I do, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Noyes. The council does now go into closed session at 5:41 p.m. to consider the following. Item 8.1, closed session minutes of July 7th, 2025. Item 8.2, PBBS 55-2025, mediation update and next steps. 1 Burns Place pursuant to Section 239E of the Municipal Act 2001. Litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. And 239F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. And item 8.3, memorandum, Hershey Estates, pursuant to Section 239E of the Municipal Act 2001, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board.
Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor of going into closed session? None opposed, that is carried. Okay, we're back in open session. Councillor Lewis, you have the resolution for us to rise and reconvene from closed session.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Christensen, that council does now rise and reconvene from closed session at 6:49 p.m. with report 8.1 that council approves the closed session minutes of July 7th, 2025. 8.2 that council receives report PBBS 55, 2025, mediation update and next steps regarding 1 Burns Place for information purposes, and to authorize staff and legal counsel to proceed as directed in closed session. And 8.3 that council receives a memorandum Hershey Estates update for information purposes.
Any questions or comments? Madam Clerk, I'd like to deal with 8.2 separately, and I'd like a recorded vote on that. So we'll deal with 8.1 and 8.3. All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. And 8.2 we're going to deal with separately. So you'll do a recorded vote, Madam Clerk.
Yes. Councillor Dubanow.
No.
Councillor Flagg.
Yes.
Councillor Lewis.
Yes.
Councillor Noyes.
Yes.
Mayor Redekop.
No. So that is carried. And that takes us then to the next item of business, which is Regional Councilor's report, but Councillor Instin is not available. So that takes us to presentations and delegations. And I know that you folks have been waiting for quite some time, but I'd like to ask Fred Lowe's to come forward so that he can provide recognition of the accomplishments of Autumn Wortman, and who is here in the audience with proud grandparents and must be parents and teachers. And good evening.
Thank you, Mayor Redekop and Council, for recognizing another talented student this evening from Greater Fort Erie Secondary School. As a proud principal of the only secondary school in town that serves all of its population, we certainly have come a long way since opening our doors in September 2017. Taking our 2 storied schools in FES and RCBHS and bringing them together within one campus has seen our combined enrollment grow from 700 students to just under 1,100. While we pride ourselves with our foundation of all education entities in our academics, we have also supported our students within our pillars of athletics, the fine and performing arts, and technology programs. The latter being highlighted this evening by the accomplishments of Autumn Wortman. For the 2nd consecutive year, Autumn has made GFES and the town of Fort Erie proud by competing on the national stage at Skills Canada. Her 2 appearances at Skills Canada have each resulted in medals. Last year, Autumn won a bronze medal in the job skills demonstration category. However, this year, she brought home the gold medal. During her 30-minute demonstration at Skills Canada, sharing 3 different ways to prepare crepes, Autumn connected with her audience to genuinely convey that anyone can attempt her recipes. So much so that her demonstration was awarded the best in all of Canada. I would like to give mention to all of our GFES technology teachers who pour their heart and soul into their specific subject matter, and of which, with us this evening, is culinary arts teacher Mr. Afshin Kavani, is without a doubt included in these passions. I believe, I don't know the exact number, but under his guidance and mentoring over the years, he has helped close to 70 students medal at either the DSBN, provincial, or national levels. Congratulations and thank you to Mr. Gavani and all of our technology department. Congratulations to Autumn, and good luck, not that you're going to need it, as you begin a 2-year pastry program at Niagara College this September.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lowe's, and I appreciate your comments. the recognition of those individuals, the teachers who have assisted Autumn. And now I've got a presentation I'd like to make to Autumn on behalf of the council and the residents, if I could.
Okay.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
So this is a certificate of congratulations from the municipal council and all of the residents of Fort Erie, recognizing and congratulating Autumn Wortman of Greater Fort Erie Secondary School for achieving a national DSBN gold medal at the Skills Competence Canada in Regina, Saskatchewan, in job skill demonstration. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, I know that your family is very proud of you. Yeah. It's always wonderful to have youth in the community succeed in even at a national level, but even something less than that. In Autumn, you've been an inspiration for a lot of your peers, and certainly will be an inspiration for those who are coming up and participating in the types of programs that Mr. Kevani provides. And I know that you've got a lot of high expectations in your family. I know that they're here, and I know that they're supporting you, and I know that you'll do well in the future, and we congratulate you and thank you. Now, we're going to continue on with our business, and if you folks feel that you want to stick around, by all means, you're welcome to do that. I see Mr. Wortman Sr. wanting to get home to do some work. That's okay. I know you cut your lawn. I saw you doing it the other day. Every other day. We've got some neighborhoods that you might be welcome. Welcome. Okay, and then the next delegation is Claire Cameron from the town's staff. She's the Director of Community Services, and she's going to provide us with a community services update. Good evening.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Mayor and Council. This presentation provides updates from the Community Services Department since creation last year. Some of our team, of course, all of our team deserves recognition, and I want to start by acknowledging every member of our staff with a heartfelt thank you for their work. Fort Erie is an amazing community, a historic and beautiful growing place, and as an organization, there are great things happening here. It's an honor to be with you and share some information tonight. I want to also acknowledge that organizational change can be challenging. I appreciate very much that the town is evolving, and I'm here to celebrate some of our successes. Since January, we have built on existing progress and brought some new momentum to our work now as a collective team. And I want to thank you also for creating this team. We appreciate very much having your trust and are looking forward to the year ahead. I will just try this out. Here we go. This is where we began in 2024 with a mandate approved by you last year to increase the town's capacity for government and partner relations, community relations, and outreach. This original mission set a very helpful foundation for bringing our services together. This slide shares our current organizational structure and leadership team and shows the strategic pillars that we are most aligned with: healthcare, quality of life, economic prosperity, and diversification. The numbers at the bottom of this slide refer to more specific parts of the town's strategic plan that our work supports. Some of our services have existed for many years at the town as individual areas. Early this year, as a new department team, we met and workshopped these goals to find what we had most in common on top of that original mandate. Across all 5 of our services, the concepts of relationships, experiences, and connections keep standing out as the guiding light and driving force for our work. As Fort Erie is growing, the community needs new attention on how people feel when working with the town, getting information from us, and experiencing our services. Community-focused people also need connection with others who may share the same goals or be working on similar efforts. From our vantage point at the town, we have a uniquely broad perspective on the Fort Erie community. So this focus on relationships, experiences, and connections is aimed at every customer, colleague, and stakeholder who we work with for the greatest possible benefit. From our leadership workshops this year, each service shared these mission statements, and I just wanted to share them with you. The highlighted words here describe activities that really drive the why behind our work and describe our leaders' individual sense of purpose. Because we are new, we also completed a mission exercise, and together as a collective department, connection stood out as a unifying theme. We want to help people connect to great information, services, experiences, and economic opportunities across Fort Erie. Likewise, our department's vision for Fort Erie is to be a community that cares. We believe in the power of simple things like having a great phone call, being a good listener, communicating clearly, and following up on what we say we will do. We also believe in the power of ideas and the importance of realizing our full potential. And of course, this is all folded under the town's overarching vision, to be a community for everyone. By extension, we want to be universal and wide-ranging about our care and concern for relationships, experiences, and connections for all. So how do we do all of this? We work first by delivering core operational services. This slide represents the critical activities and functions that community services provides every day. There is no start or end to these efforts. All are ongoing. By the numbers, here are some operational highlights so far in 2025. Through social and local media promotions, communications facilitated over 900 pounds of food donations for COPE at this year's tree giveaway event in May. Economic Development hosted 2 provincial ministers in 5 days and welcomed over 700 attendees to an employment resource fair with Job Gym. The Customer Service Unit received 21,000 customer requests just so far year to date, and that's a 5% increase over last year's numbers so far. The museum team completed 66 research requests for members of the public and town staff, including research on heritage designations. Our social media accounts on Facebook and Instagram continue to grow steadily. This year alone, we have had over 3 million views and more than 2,000 new followers and subscribers to our email list. We also celebrated the grand openings of 15 new businesses and brought together 11 primary care physicians in May for a social and networking experience. Obviously, one slide can't capture all the great work of this team. Other positive community impacts I just quickly want to mention is that we recently received a grant from the Tourism Partnership of Niagara to continue influencer marketing in the shoulder season. We provided a co-op experience to a GFESS student and also captured an oral history interview from Bird Sisler for the museum. On top of operational work, we also have strategic projects that improve core services and support one of the town's strategic goals. These are unique initiatives with a defined beginning, middle, and end. Ideally, they are SMART, meaning that every project is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant to our mission, and time-bound. When strategic projects are done, we should be able to show very clearly what was achieved and how we are actually improving life in Fort Erie. In closing, I just want to share a few images from each of our services so far this year. Museum and Cultural Services has created a new digitization strategy that will lead to sharing more content online. One early example is the new QR code that is now attached to the Niagara Movement plaque as an early pilot at Waverly Beach. Jane and her team are digitizing the Bridge That Peace Built exhibit also for 100 years since groundbreaking at the Peace Bridge. There are new exhibits at the Town Hall Atrium, Fort Erie Public Library, and the Ridgeway Historical Museum. The year 2000 time capsule display has generated a lot of positive comments and great nostalgia from visitors. Our community health coordinator, Alice, had the opportunity to meet Dr. Jane Philpott at the Casper Recruitment Conference this year and received several positive leads for local physicians from attending a recruitment event in Birmingham. Alice continues to be a very critical resource for planning the future of health services at the Douglas Memorial former hospital site and is very involved with that project. Through community and corporate initiatives, 19 businesses signed up for the Stopgap Ramp project, and Bev Bradnam was sought out for her expertise to help other municipalities in Niagara do the same. The customer service unit is using the citywide system to create service requests, and we are working on new ways to capture more data about what customers are asking for at that first point of contact, when they are asking, how they are asking, so we can share more reporting and data-driven analysis on trends and demand. The CKTB Roundtable Road Trip visited Town Hall in February, and ECDEV welcomed Ontario Minister Vic Fideli to the niche event that Carrie Lee and her team helped to organize. It is fantastic to celebrate so many new businesses opening, and this is always one of our top Facebook post types. In the top right corner of this slide is our highest performing Facebook post so far this year from communications showing one of those grand openings. This post alone generated 122,000 views and had a reach of 68,000 unique users. The top left photo, of course, is from the June 11th press conference about Urgent Care Center summer hours, which Kevin and Cole rapidly organized along with managing media interest and interviews. Other highlights here include the summer visitor marketing campaign that is now live. So this was a fairly, I hope, high-level presentation to share some of our mission and mandate as a new department at the town and give you some sense of what we're working on together. We sincerely look forward to hearing your questions, ideas, and feedback, and are happy to report back with more information in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Cameron. That was excellent, and you're under 10 minutes.
I don't want to disappoint.
Well, you did. Any members of council have any questions? Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Mayor, through Ms. Cameron. Ms. Cameron, one of the things I don't know if you're aware of, but you probably are, but I did want to mention it, at the last Accessibility Committee meeting that, because Fort Erie was foremost in Niagara with the Stopgap program, Niagara Lake has now adopted it and is also following and is asking us for information. This is how communication and working in synergy works. Thank you.
Yes, it's fantastic news. Yeah.
Anyone else? Thank you very much, Ms.
Great,
Cameron.
thank you.
Appreciate it. So that takes us to public meetings, and as it indicated, I have a pecuniary interest with respect to this matter, so Councillor Christensen, if you'd be good enough to take over the chair.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we have a public meeting this evening with respect to the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment at 08227 Hibbard Street, 2655321 Ontario Limited, Mark Spadafora, Urban and Environmental Management, Greg Terrace, are the involved in the development. I believe we have a presentation by staff. Mr. Van der Veen.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Council, members of the public, both in attendance and who may be watching this public meeting online. The intent of this meeting is to discuss the proposed combined official plan and zoning bylaw amendment to Council regarding a The purpose of this public meeting is to provide information to Council regarding a proposed combined official plan and zoning bylaw amendment for 0-8227 Hibbard Street. The applicant is proposing an official plan amendment to redesignate a portion of the subject lands from institutional to medium-density residential. Further, a zoning bylaw amendment is proposed to rezone the subject lands to a site-specific residential multiple 1 RM1 zone to permit development of 8 street townhouses on the subject lands. Notification of the July 21st, 2025 public meeting was provided in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act by placing a public notice sign on the subject property on June 27, 2025. In addition, all property owners within 120 meters were mailed a notice of complete application and public meeting on June 26, 2025. So this slide illustrates the application timeline of the development process. So in this case, the application was deemed complete on May 15th, 2025. A public information open house was held on June 12th, 2025. This evening is the night of the public meeting and information report, July 21st, 2025. Staff will be bringing forward a recommendation report on this proposal in August or September 2025. And if approved by council, we aim to bring amending bylaws forward for September 2025. So just to reiterate, the proposed combined official plan and zoning bylaw amendment application is subject to a 120-day processing and review timeline. That begins the day the application is deemed complete and will stop the day council makes a decision on the application. Right now, we are at the public meeting stage and it's day 67 of the 120-day time frame. The subject lands are located on the south side of Hibbert Street, east of Ridge Road North, within downtown Ridgeway. The subject lands are within the urban boundary in the Ridgeway Thunder Bay Secondary Plan area. The subject lands are rectangular in shape with an approximate lot area of 1,778 square meters in a lot frontage of 60.89 meters. The subject lands are currently vacant. The subject lands are surrounded by the following uses. To the north, Hibbert Street, mixed use, consisting of downtown mixed-use buildings and residential uses, single detached dwellings and street townhouses. To the east, residential uses, consisting of street townhouses and a block townhouse development. To the south, open space, consisting of Ridgeway Village Square / the Fort Erie Friendship Trail, and residential uses further south, consisting of largely single detached dwellings. And to the west, mixed use buildings, basically downtown commercial and dwelling units mixed inside the same structures. The subject lands are designated institutional in part and medium density residential in part in the Ridgeway Thunder Bay Secondary Plan and the town's official plan. The official plan amendment proposes to change the institutional portion of the subject lands, you can see it there in blue, to medium density residential. Street townhouses are permitted in the medium density residential land use designation. It is noted that there are no natural heritage features on the subject lands as identified in the town's official plan Schedule C. A tree preservation plan and a landscape plan detailing tree compensation as per the town's tree bylaw will be required further in the process. The subject lands are within an area with archaeological potential as identified in the Niagara Official Plan Schedule K. The applicant has completed a Stage 1-2 archaeological assessment that concludes that there are no archaeological resources on site. The subject lands are currently zoned institutional I-zone in part and residential multiple 1, RM1-508 zone in part. The zoning bylaw amendment proposes to change the zoning of the whole of the subject lands to a site-specific residential multiple 1 zone. The site-specific zoning will permit development of street townhouses on the subject lands and also proposes a special provision to permit an increased maximum density of approximately 45 units per hectare. This is the site plan for the proposed townhouses. There are 8 street townhouse dwellings that will front directly onto Hibbert Street. Just to note, each dwelling unit has an attached garage, as well as space for vehicle parking in front of the garage. The proposed townhouses comply with all the regulations of the RM1 zone. During application review, we did note that a planting strip on the east side of the property was deficient, so we'll be speaking to that further in the recommendation report. This is a rendering of the townhouses. This would be looking south. An information open house meeting was held in the atrium of Town Hall on June 12, 2025 from 5 to 5:30 p.m. for this proposal. Again, all property owners with 120 meters were mailed notice of the information open house that occurred on May 30th. The meeting was attended by the agent, the owner, and town staff. Approximately 10 members of the public attended the information open house meeting. And staff, just to point out the concerns that were raised, the narrow road width of Hibbard Street, two-way traffic and on-street parking. It was noted that occasionally large commercial vehicles also park on Hibbard Street, and there was concerns over pedestrian safety and sidewalks. So this is some photographs of the subject lands. This is looking south towards the subject lands. This is also looking south towards the subject lands. This is looking northeast towards the subject lands from the parking lot in the Fort Erie Friendship Trail / Ridgeway Village Square. This is looking west along Hibbard Street towards Ridge Road North. And this is looking east along Hibbard Street towards Prospect Point Road North. That concludes the presentation. Happy to answer any questions council may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vanderveen. Do any members of council have questions? Councillor Noyes?
Thank you for your presentation. In regards to the question from the public about sidewalks, there will be sidewalks along the one lane, and the road will be widened?
Through the chair to Councillor Noyes. So the road will be widened by 1.52 meters. The comments we've received from development engineering is we will not require a sidewalk to be constructed in front of the subject lands. The reasoning is the space is a little tight, and the existing sidewalks on the remainder of Hibbard are on the north side of the road, not the south.
Okay. How deep are these lots, like for the houses?
1 sec, let's pull up the site plan. Bear with me, I'll just look at my, yeah, they're about 46 meters in depth, so just under 150 feet or so.
And again, this may, I'll ask the question now, but I know we're going to have another report coming. There's no way they can move those down so a sidewalk can be accommodated?
Through the chair to Councillor Noyes, that's definitely something we can explore.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Flagg?
Thank you, Chair, and through you. MPCA indicated that there's a water course behind this property, and then there was a discussion about swales behind the property as well. I'm just wondering whether the swales will impact the water course or vice versa, and how all of that would be taken into account for the drainage.
Through the chair to Councillor Flagg, we could certainly reach out to the MPCA to clarify, but it sounds like the impacts were anticipated to be slight. The NPCA did note further on in the process they will be asking for erosion and sediment control plans as well as grading plans to ensure there's no negative impacts on that water course.
Thank you for that clarity.
Are there any? Councillor Lewis?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I'll be asking the same question probably depending on the answer to the developer, but slide 8 shows the renderings of the townhouses. Was there any other discussion about look and feel of the townhouse units, or was this just what was proposed and nothing else?
Through the chair to Councillor Lewis, yes, this was what the applicant proposed. We didn't get into detailed discussions on urban design.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Vanderveen. No one else has any questions, so thank you very much for your presentation. Yep.
Sorry, I was taking
No,
notes there.
I knew what you were doing. Yeah, no problem. Does the developer have a representative? And Mr. Harris? Yeah.
This goes up or something. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, we have a brief presentation this evening. My colleague Darren covered most of what we wanted to speak to with respect to the development. So
Please identify yourself just for the record.
Sorry, Greg Terrace, Senior Planner with Urban and Environmental Management in Niagara Falls. So as Darrell explained, it's an 8-unit townhouse fronting on Hibbert Street. I won't repeat everything Darrell did because he did a great job covering everything off here. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out how to go to the next slide. Okay, so you've seen this already, these things. The open house, again, similarly, this is what we heard. There was really no one that we were aware that was against the development, but other concerns related to the road, sidewalks, road safety were the biggest concerns. So these are being addressed with the town in terms of there is a dedication for the road widening, and there's a requirement to bring the road up to urban standards in front of this development, which would be consistent with the developments to the east of this on Hibbert Street. One of the things I wanted to touch on, though, was the process on how we arrived at being here this evening in terms of requiring an official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendments. So if you'll please indulge me for a moment. This entire property pre-1990 was designated commercial and zoned commercial. In 1990, the town implemented a new comprehensive zoning bylaw, which at the time, it still remained with a commercial designation and a commercial C2 designation. In 1999, the town contacted the previous owner about a land exchange in order to they wanted to construct the access road to the Friendship Trail parking lot. There was a number of correspondence that I've seen, but nothing that really confirmed that the previous owner agreed to to any exchange of land, which I believe never happened, or to really any agreement that the town could have access on this property. In their letters, the September 21st letter from the previous director of planning at the time indicated, we have not heard back from you, but we've already engaged a contractor, so we're going to go ahead, is essentially what the letter said. The town constructed the access, and it was then installed. In 2013, and I think this is important, the town undertook the Ridgeway Thunder Bay secondary plan, at which time they designated the east part of the property residential, as was shown by Darrell on the drawing, and the west side institutional, which I thought was very strange to have an institutional designation. You don't really designate or zone roads, and this wasn't a road, so it was a bit of an unusual situation, and there was really no opposition from the owner. Can't speak for the owner of whether they even knew this happened. So in 2023, the owner wanted to sell the property, and that's when they basically, through their real estate agent, determined that the west side of this property was designated institutional and zoned institutional. So in March 2023, there was a report to the land committee from one of the planners in the town saying, the owner had proposed to move ahead with the land exchange that had previously been proposed in 1999. The town said, you know what, we don't want to go ahead with this. This is in your report. We're going to close the access. We don't need it anymore. We're going to reinstate the road, which has been done. It's now been closed. There's been a curb put in the parking lot, and it's been seeded. I guess my point is that the town physically reinstated the property, but they never, I'll use the word legislatively reinstated the property. If the town at the Ridgeway secondary plan believed this should be residential, I think that part of completing the process is the town should have reinstated the property to residential on the west side. That the part that is the road is not indicative of almost more than half of the property being designated institutional. In my years as a planner, it's a very unusual situation, and I think that we're going through this process. I think it's just a situation where the owners now have to pay for rezoning, an official plan amendment, where if the town had, what I'd say, completed the entire process, this might have been a minor variance application to address density and now a slightly changed landscape buffer on the east side. So we did send a letter to the town explaining this when we started the process. To be honest, we never received a written response. We were told that it would be dealt with at our pre-consultation meeting, at which time the planner at the time, who was at pre-consultation, who's no longer with the town, said, you have to do an official plan and zoning amendment. And that was the end of the explanation. So we've never really received I would say, an adequate explanation of why the town didn't, reinstate, if they reinstated and agreed they didn't need the road, why they didn't reinstate the designation to reflect what they wanted in this area, and that was residential. So that's really, I know this really doesn't have to do with the development and the open house, but I just wanted to get that point across that, on the owner's behalf, that we really don't think this process should have gone the way it should have gone with this, needing this application. So thank you for hearing me out on that.
Thank you for the history as
Yeah,
well.
okay.
Yes, it's always handy to have that type of.
Okay.
So.
That concludes my presentation, so happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Councillor Christensen, to you, to Mr. Terrace. Mr. Terrace, I am familiar with this area because my dog used to be groomed.
Oh, next door?
Right next door.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I noticed every time I tried to turn left from Ridge Road into there, how narrow the road is. And you can't do anything about that. That's not the property we're talking about. It's the property that precedes, that you have to kind of go through to get
Yes.
there. But I'm still concerned about the sidewalks. We're used to seeing properties where the backyards are like 10 feet. And these backyards seem to be much more generous.
If I may, through you, Madam Chair, I think Mr. Vanderveen might have given you an inaccurate depth of the lots. If looking at the site plan, if I can just go back to that, I believe that the depth is shown there is 95 feet is the depth of the lot, not 140, as I think he believes said 140. I think on the plan it is showing just under 96 feet, if I read that correctly.
And
Yeah.
so how big is the backyard for?
Oh, it meets the minimum depth requirements in the zoning bylaw. I don't have that on the plan, but I believe they need to be 7.5 meters. I'm sorry, Madam Chair, through you.
Two conversations. So my only thought is that I understand too that even if you put a sidewalk, there's a sidewalk on the other side,
Yeah.
but it doesn't extend the length. That even if you couldn't really put the sidewalk all the way to Ridge Road, well, that wouldn't be your problem anyway, because you don't own that part of the thing. But if there is an opportunity, would you consider putting a sidewalk there for, I'm kind of defeating myself, I'm seeing how impractical it might be.
Through you, Madam Chair, I think it would be a sidewalk to nowhere,
Yeah,
because all the development on the east side has no sidewalk in front of it. It's all on the north side, and I would suspect if the lots to the north were ever purchased and developed, that sidewalk would continue on the north side.
Okay, thank you.
That would be my opinion, yeah.
Are there any other questions? Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation tonight. I'm going to go back to the same
Design.
question with Mr. Vanderveen.
Yeah.
The slides in the staff report on slide 8 show the renderings, and I think you had it on the corresponding slide.
Yes.
Is that the final proposal, or are you open to?
I just spoke with the developers, and they're open to considering alternatives. This was just kind of what they came up with for they thought would be nice here, but they're certainly open to considering other alternative designs.
Okay, and the only reason I bring that up is some of the other homes in the neighborhoods have peaked roofs.
Yes.
Gabled roofs. And when I see this, I don't necessarily see Ridgeway.
Yes.
But I grew up in Ridgeway, now live in Crystal Beach, but that's good to know, and I thank you for providing that information to council.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much for your presentation.
You're welcome.
Mr. Terrace.
Thank you.
And now we enter the part of the meeting where members of the public have an opportunity to speak in support of or in opposition to the application. I will first call for anyone who is wants to speak in favor of the application. Is there anyone? No. Mr. Patton, is there anyone in the waiting room?
We have not received any requests to virtually, so we have nobody in the waiting room at this point.
Thank you. Okay. Should have asked that earlier. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Oh. Okay. You have to, yes, could you please come up, give your name and your address, and speak into the microphone.
On Hibbard Street right now.
Pardon?
I live on Hibbard Street on the north side.
Okay, what address and what's your name?
3600 Lucy Hall. And we're concerned about the narrowness of our street. We have a sidewalk on our side, which continues from Prospect, which they did some sidewalks lately, and it's great, but it ends nowhere. So I don't know why you would want sidewalks in front of these new townhouses. Where are they going?
No, Ms. Hall,
No, I don't
Noyes was simply asking questions.
Yeah, I
and
don't
that's part of
understand
this.
why they would even put the sidewalks, because Hibbard Street is crooked. When the builder first started building the houses, the foundations were put too close to the road. The first 4 townhouse foundations were poured too close to the road. So that's a big problem, and that's why we have such a narrow road. But where his land is, where he wants to put townhouses, is fine, but to go out onto Ridge Road is not a street. That's not Hibbard Street, it's a laneway, and it's dangerous. So what do you guys propose?
Ms. Hall, what we're doing today is discussing the application. Your comments will be taken into account by the staff.
Okay.
So you're concerned about not only the narrowness of the street at the east end where you reside, but also the
west.
what you've termed a laneway,
Yeah.
and which Councillor Noyes has spoken to in terms of the narrowness.
Okay. Yeah, because Hibbard Street, really, at the end of the townhouses, it becomes a parking lot. And then a laneway out of that parking lot onto Ridge Road. So we're going to be having construction vehicles going, but I still don't understand why they would want sidewalks. That's my point, because it would just make a bad situation worse, narrowing the street more, because the sidewalks aren't going anywhere.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep.
that's all I want to say.
Thank you very much, yes.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, excuse me, Ms. Hall, one of the councillors has a question.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Thank you for your presentation.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on, I understand the street and the jogging in the street and the telephone pole almost in the street and all the dynamics of that neighborhood. What are your thoughts on that street being a one-way?
It should be a one-way or not a through street.
Okay. Thank you.
Either or, because it's too tight. You know, it's so tight that we've had people pull out of their driveways when the other townhouses have had company, and they bang into their vehicles. And it happened with the construction crew when they were working on Prospect. They got a couple of damaged cars. It's so narrow. I don't know how they even got away with doing that, the builder or developer, because it's really narrow.
Yeah, I know.
You know, there's
I've
no
been down
room
a
to
lot.
groove there. Like,
Yeah.
if somebody had to avoid an animal or a kid or something, they'd end up in somebody's living room. You know, it's very narrow. Should be a gated community is really what it looks like it should be. You know, it's not for traffic. And we get a lot of traffic from Ridge Road
Outside.
taking shortcuts.
Yeah.
You know, so,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Well, sorry, sorry, calling you back again. Councillor Noyes has a question. Yeah.
Hi, Mrs. Hall, yes, and I do agree with you. I was just asking, normally when we see a development, we ask for sidewalks in front of the development, but it would be a sidewalk to nowhere. And I
To
was thinking
nowhere.
if the property was very deep, you could move everything back, but it still would be a sidewalk to nowhere. I am curious about the laneway. I agree with, I do see the laneway is very, very narrow. I'm not quite sure if you made it one way,
No, I think it should be closed.
but how would you get in and out?
We'd get in and out from Prospect.
So,
Because if you're making a left-hand turn off of Ridge Road onto what they call Hibbard Street, which it isn't a street, and there's a car waiting to turn onto Ridge Road, you wouldn't believe the backup of cars on Ridge Road.
oh, I would.
It's
I would, I've been
terrible.
there. Like I said, my dog used to go to that grooming, I know exactly, you know.
Oh, the groomer,
The
the
groomer, so
groomers, yeah.
Molly's no longer with us, but I'm very familiar with that particular area. And yes, you're right. This under the report about the ownership of that laneway. Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other people who wish to speak in opposition? Just come on up to the microphone, give your name and your address, please.
Lynn Kumagai, 3627 Hibbert Street. Our property abuts the proposed development, and this is not in opposition. I was just like to say that I was pleased to hear that the builder would think about reconsidering the design of the proposed units, just to maybe make it more in line with what currently is there with the peaked roofs and so on. I realize as far as like density, they would like probably them to be high rather than having bungalows. Bungalows would be great, but very positive to hear that the builder is open to changing the design.
Thank you. Oh, no? No comments. Okay. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition? No? And still no one in the waiting room? Mr. Patton? No, okay. Thank you very much. Then I'll call this meeting to a close, and we will now proceed to report PBBS 56-2025, and I believe Councillor Flagg has a motion.
I do, Madam Chair. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Lewis that Council receives for information purposes report PDS 56-2025 regarding a proposed combined official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment for the lands located at 0-8227 Hibbert Street.
Thank you. So that report is on the floor for questions and comments. Councillor Dubanow.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Just a few comments, just to get some clarification, maybe when the recommendation report comes. I am very happy to hear about the willingness to look at the urban design. It would just, with the narrowness of that street and how, for lack of a better word, close everything is together, you know, beauty is always in the eye of the beholder. I wouldn't be the one purchasing these units, but I think just from a streetscape perspective, it might make more sense to have an urban design that's more consistent. So I'm very happy to hear that the builder is open to that, and I think, you know, just knowing the area, it might even be more marketable, but I'll just leave it at that. The comment that I had more for staff at the recommendation report stage, there was a lot of discussion about the sidewalks, and I certainly understand where they're coming from. It makes more sense to have the sidewalk on the other side of the street, but I'm just hoping maybe I have some familiarity with that street. I've cycled up and down it many times. It's certainly not a busy street by any means. It tends to be used. The end near Ridge has more, kind of the commercial in and out, a little bit of activity there, but the residential end further down tends to be quieter. I'm just wondering if maybe we could get some information, just some, not to the point of a traffic study or anything, but maybe an observation of the number of vehicles that use it, just to give some assurance to council that the recommendation not to have sidewalks at this point is germane, and that we can defend it, and that it makes sense from a traffic flow perspective. And it would also be interesting, as well, as had been mentioned earlier, Councillor Lewis brought this up about a one-way street. I think that might make sense as well, but I would be interested to hear staff's perspective. I can't envision why anything would prevent that. Certainly if the residents are willing to, we heard here, it may be beneficial to them, but I think that might be worth consideration at a recommendation report stage as well, just to get some information to help our decision-making. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Councillor Noyes.
Again, I agree with Councillor Dubanow in regard to the sidewalks, and if they can put them on the other side, fine, but again, I don't think they can because of the narrowness of the laneway. There's really just no room. I'm just wondering from the fire services, I would imagine that they access this road even now via Prospect Point to Hibbert. I don't think they probably use Ridge Road.
Madam Chair, through you to the councillor, we had circulated the application to the fire department. They came back with no objections, but we can get that information for you.
Yeah, and that would be great. And again, is that laneway a town-owned laneway, or is that, it almost looks like at some point it was the driveway into the building on I guess it would be on the right-hand side. I'm not sure. Do we know the history of that laneway? Like, do we own it?
Councillor Noyes, are you speaking about the access from Ridge Road?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm speaking, yeah.
Hibbert going, so I believe it's a local road, Director?
Madam Chair, through you to the councillor, based on the information that we have on our mapping, it's owned by the town.
Okay, thank you.
And may I suggest something? So I just want to answer the question that Councillor Noyes had asked previously about the depth of the lot. Currently, we require 6 meters of rear yard setback. The applicant is providing way more than that. So if council wishes, we can ask for a greater road widening along that section that would make the road wider, but I don't think we would achieve anything, but that's council's decision.
Councillor Noyes.
Just in response to that, I agree. I would think because it's going to have to stop with the narrow laneway starts anyway. And the developer doesn't own that property, so it would be basically widened only for the 8 houses, and there really is no room for a sidewalk.
There any? I have one comment, Ms. Hall's comment with respect to the narrowness for people visiting. Gave me some concern. We have a public parking lot adjacent to just south of Trailsides, and which was in fact, the access was in that prior to March 2023 was through the that property, that informal agreement with the town. I'm just wondering whether there's, is there any way to have sort of a walkway or something like that so that people could park more easily in the public parking rather than along the street? Just something to think about so that people could then walk through to Hibbert so that both the existing townhouses and the new set there would be less obstruction along the street. Just something to think about. So So are there any further comments? No? So that being the case, I will call the question. All those in favor of receiving this as an information report? All those opposed? That is carried. Your Worship, I turn the chair back to you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Christensen. Job well done. Okay, that takes us to the consent agenda. Are there any items that anyone wishes removed from the consent agenda? Councillor Flagg.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to remove 13.3.2.
13.3.
Point 2. The affordable housing, yep.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, Councillor Flagg, you have the resolution for the consent agenda. Sorry? Oh, yes, okay. At the very end. Do we have any volunteers for the Court of Revision? Councillor Noyes and Councillor Lewis? Anybody else want to argue with that?
I mean, if you really want it, Nick, go for it.
If you're just asking a rhetorical question. Okay, Madam Clerk, you're okay with that then? Councillor Noyes and Councillor Lewis. Okay, so Councillor Flagg, if you would move a motion with respect to the consent agenda with the exception of item 13.3.2, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Noyes, that Council approves the consent agenda with the exception of 13.3.2 as recommended.
Any questions or comments on those items that are in the consent agenda? If not, all those in favor of the recommendations? That is carried. And Councillor Flagg, would you mind moving 13.3.2, please?
Be happy to. Council approves 13.3.2 as recommended.
And questions or comments, Councillor Flagg?
Thank you, Worship. Within this, the Affordable Housing Committee had asked for Council to approve lodging homes bylaw, and so I have recommendation here to, if I may, to direct staff to conduct a review of lodging house regulations in comparable municipalities, including Port Colborne lodging house bylaw.
So excuse me, so this would be in addition to the, or a substitute for the
this would be action, maybe action coming from the minutes?
Right, because I think what we're doing is we're simply approving the minutes. And so this will be a resolution that supplements. Yes. Okay. Please proceed.
Thank you, Your Worship. To assess the applicability of such a bylaw in Fort Erie in consultation with bylaw and other relevant departments, and to prepare a report for recommendation development of lodging house bylaw that meets the town's unique needs.
Okay, so that's an amendment to the lodging house bylaw portion, and we'll deal with that separately. Are there any questions or comments about that? If not, I'm going to call the question on that. All those in favor? Okay, and that leaves the item about communicating with the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. I think that was meant to be the federal Minister of Housing, which would be Gregor Robertson. So, Madam Clerk, I know we can't change the minutes that came out of the Affordable Housing Committee, but I presume that if we pass this, then I'm still at liberty to send the letter to the appropriate minister. Okay. Okay, great. So do we need to do anything further on this? No. Okay. So I'm going to call the question on that. All those in favor of the item with respect to communicating with the minister? None opposed, that is carried. Okay, that then takes us to reports, and the first report, Councillor Flagg, you have, and that relates to the Gibson Center expansion project.
I do, your worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Noyes, that council accepts and approves the tender submission for the Gibson Center Expansion Project Contract ISE 25T GCA E23 GCB E25 from Nikon Limited in the amount of $7,261,522, including 13% HST, and further that council authorizes the extension of the contract with ATA Architectural Inc. assignment for the contract administration inspection services in the amount of $54,743, including 13% HST. Further, that council amends the 2025 capital budget to supplement the Gibson Center Building Expansion Project GCAE 23 by $2,115,124 with debentures of $2,080,000 and $35,124,000 from facility maintenance reserve. And further, that council amends the 2025 capital budget to decrease the Point Dubanow Road South reinstatement PARR 20 by $2,080,000 with debenture financing. And further, that council amends the 2025 capital budget to supplement the Gibson Center Vehicle Bay expansion GCBE 25 by $588,700 from the development charges DC reserve.
Any questions or comments? Councillor Noyes.
I'm going to move that we defer this report for further information regarding the change in scope, to get an idea what the change in scope is, the cost escalation, and alternatives to that we can look at to contain costs and projects, and any alternatives in regard to scale back the project.
And deferred until?
September the 8th.
That's a council and committee meeting. CAO, is there any problem with deferral to that date?
Through you to the councillor, there is an irrevocable 90 days on the tender price, so we have the flexibility to go out that far. I did have a discussion with staff that if the information that's being requested can be pulled together for the August 11th council and committee, that would be an option as well, but I'll leave that to council to decide.
Yeah, okay, so right now it's September the 8th.
Yeah, it's September the 8th.
Okay, any questions or comments? Well, time only, right? All right, all those in favor of the deferral to September the 8th? That is unanimous. Okay. That takes us into new business and inquiries, and the first item is the long-anticipated change of chairs and vice chairs. And so I'm going to start by, Madam Clerk, I see a couple of blanks in the first paragraph with respect to the resolution. Have they been filled now? Yes, yes, okay. So I'm going to go down the list. I'll ask for volunteers. If more than one of you wishes to fulfill a position, then we'll have a vote on it. But I'm going to start with Chair of Planning, Building, and Bylaw Services. Volunteer? Anyone else interested? Okay, so I'm going to put your name down, Councillor Christensen. How about for Vice Chair of that department? And I see Councillor Noyes' hands up. Anyone else? Then I'm going to put down Councillor Noyes' name. Infrastructure Services, a chair. Councillor Lewis, anyone else? Well, this is going much more smoothly than I had anticipated, but I'm ever so grateful. Yeah, we're not out of this yet. Anyone Vice Chair, Infrastructure Services? Councillor Dubanow. Fortunately for Councillor McDermott, who's not here, I think he's going to end up where he wants to be.
Yeah, exactly.
So, anyone wish to be the Chair of Corporate and Community Services? Councillor Flagg. And by definition, everybody step back one, and Councillor McDermott is now the Vice Chair of...
I think he'll be quite happy with that, actually.
I believe he is. I believe that was his preference. Okay, so we've got all the names filled in, Madam Clerk, so I'm going to, unless there's any questions or comments, Councillor Noyes, do you want to put that on the floor? Well, we got to put it on the floor.
Okay, so do you want me to name all of them?
You go through that resolution. You have a seconder, I presume?
Okay, I don't think I have that resolution.
Okay, you do now.
Oh, yes, I do have it. Okay, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Flagg and Dubanow that,
I guess we have to find it out.
You be Councillor Dubanow.
Section 18.8B of Council Rules and Procedure Bylaw states that prior to August 1st in the third year of the term, council meets in open session and selects chair and vice chair for each business subdivision for the last 16-month period of the term. Now, therefore, it be resolved that council appoints the following chair and vice chair for the business subdivision of council and committee for the period of July 28th to 2025 to October 25th, 2026. Planning, Building, and Bylaw Services, Councillor Christensen, chair. Councillor Noyes, vice chair. Infrastructure Services, Councillor Lewis, chair. Councillor Dubanow, vice chair. Corporate and Community Services, Councillor Flagg, chair, and Councillor McDermott, vice chair.
Any questions or comments? Councillor Lewis. Yeah, I'm assuming we don't need a chaperone for you guys. I mean, since you're the two youngest, and the rest of it's fairly balanced out.
Teenage son.
Okay, does he need a chaperone?
Yeah, right now he does.
Okay. Yes, thanks for pointing that out, Councillor Lewis. We have big expectations of the younger generation. All those in favor of the resolution? None opposed, that is carried. Are there any other items of new business or inquiries? There not appearing to be any. That takes us to motions, and Councillor Noyes, you have, yeah. No, let me just, yeah. Yeah, please proceed.
Okay. The first one is regarding.
Sorry. That was under the consent agenda.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks for your assistance.
Okay. Okay, moved by myself regarding Black Creek Water, but I need a seconder. Councillor Lewis, regarding Black Creek Water Windows Time of Use Restrictions Resolution, whereas bylaw number 119-03 is amended, regulates the use of parks and beaches in the town of Fort Erie. And whereas the water windows in Black Creek are considered a park as defined by bylaw 119-03, of which hours of operation are from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. And whereas the water windows in Black Creek closely abut residential properties, and the current operation times may affect the enjoyment of abutting residential properties. Now therefore be it resolved that staff be directed to provide a report to council, including current rules regarding open hours for parks and open spaces, and 2, the rationale for the rules of or any difference in application regarding open hours for parks and open spaces, and 3, recommendations regarding hours of operations for parks and open spaces.
You want to speak to that, Councillor Noyes?
Yes, I did want to speak to that. Again, I think I've got not one size doesn't fit all. And a good example actually is one of the water windows in Black Creek. There are guide wires that go from the pole through, I wouldn't say through, but I mean, they occupy a good part of the road, of the water window property. And I'm concerned, like, my suggestion would be in daylight hours, because none of these are lit. There's no lighting there. And I'm concerned about the liability issues in regards to someone walking into one of the guide wires when it's dark. The water windows at this point are really just going to be a bench, a pathway to a bench to sit there. I know that there's a safety concern in regards to walking in the dark, and particularly the guide wires. And basically, I don't know what else they would need to do there when it's dark, when there's only a bench. There's no other activity that can happen there in the dark. And I know that the residents are concerned. So, and I do know that there's other areas, for instance, the Friendship Trail. And I know if this is going to come through the staff report. goes from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. Don't know why, but it's 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. in that 119-03. And it's been 21 years that we actually looked at this. So I think we do have to look at, our parks are all different sizes, all different activities. We now have a skateboard park. Do we really want somebody there when it's dark, when it's not lit? The other thing too is I know that we have here in Stevensville an example where the baseball park, which is off of Ott Road, is actually gated at 9 o'clock or after the baseball game because there was too many, what do they call it, tailgate celebrations. And so there is a gate there, it is closed. It does open in the morning. Actually, the resident, I think the town now takes that over, but the resident had agreed to do that. And also I do know that on the mini park off of West Main Street, we had a problem there too. We could solve the problem without changing the hours, but there was a big pavilion back there, and there's kind of some people could still drive their cars from West Main to the pavilion. There's all kinds of nonsense that were going on there, and they're upsetting the residents. So we solved that problem by putting big boulevards, so you can't drive down to the pavilion anymore. So I do think it's worth for the staff to look at the different parks, look at the different activities in the parks, and seeing if there's any safety issues or any concerns in regards to nuisance or affecting the enjoyment of the neighbors to these areas.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Councillor Noyes, you have the next resolution, next motion.
Yes, thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Lewis. That's staff review of the animal control and dog bite witnesses. And my thing has changed a little bit. I don't know if you guys got the change. The resolution paragraph 3 of section 19 under part 6. Bylaw number 73-2021 as amended requires that the affiant of a dog bite may not be the person subject to the bite. And this requirement limits the prosecution as bylaw enforcement requires a third-party witness to issue the dangerous dog declaration. Now therefore be it resolved that part 619, potential dangerous dog, section 3 of bylaw number 73-2021 as amended, be amended to remove the word not from and for the purposes of this subsection that the affiant may not be the subject of the bite. And I can speak to that.
Please do.
Sounds very complicated. Basically, if you didn't have a witness to the dog bite, the bylaw officer couldn't do anything about it. The dog couldn't be charged, et cetera, et cetera. So what this does is that it takes that requirement. If you're bit by a dog and you can recognize the dog, charges can be laid and things can happen. And we had a hearing about 4 months ago, Councillor Dubanow and the mayor were there, where actually the legal representative basically says, your bylaw says that unless you actually witness the bite, not only that there was witnesses to the dog jumping on the child, they didn't actually see the dog's teeth sink into the child's skin, so that didn't count either. We did not buy that, and we did not go that. But again, I think the fact that you have to have a witness for the bite to count is a bit nonsensical.
Any questions or comments? Mr. Riley, do you have any comments with respect to this? I mean, it's an issue with right? I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand up.
I guess I would like some clarity with respect to what is, I don't know, what does constitute a bite? One of the issues is I would be potentially supportive if there were evidence of physical evidence of bite marks or whatever. I have some concerns with respect to people who are fearful of dogs. thinking that they've been bitten. And there is, without a witness, there isn't, it's a he said, she said. So I have a concern from the perspective of demonstrating what demonstrates that there, in fact, a bite has occurred. And I don't know what the town's bylaws detail and what the tribunal considers, but that would be a concern because although it has not personally affected me, I have actually been witness to discussions about that.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Mr. Riley to comment on that. You still have to establish that you were bitten, and so it would really go to the credibility and the weight of the evidence. But Mr. Riley, any comments with respect to the motion put forward and Councillor Christensen's concern?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The concerns raised by the councillor, granted, but the way that the current bylaw is written, it takes out any investigatory tools of an officer. So to say that, an individual who is bitten presents with, a evidence of a bite, to say that that person can't be the affiant, I think that's more illogical than it is logical. So I think it makes a lot of sense to have this amendment. And obviously being able to present with evidence, if there's no evidence of a bite, going to Councillor Christensen's comments, if there's no evidence of a bite, then that is going to be much more difficult to prove in a hearing. So I think being able to just assess the evidence, weigh the evidence accordingly, and then that will grant the committee an ability to make an informed decision on the matter.
Councillor Christensen?
I acknowledge that, and that's why I said I would be possibly able to support something like that. However, in Fort Erie, I know of one incident where, and it was only one, where the dog ended up being designated, and there was no bite mark, but it was a very persuasive person, and the dog is a very large dog, not a band breed or an affiliate of a band breed, but a very large dog. So I just want to lay that out there. It may be that if we go down that road, then we have to be more specific on the evidence, because they can be very fraught discussions, and that's my concern.
So I think there's a distinction between somebody alleging a bite and then proving the bite. And so in the instance that you're referring to, I presume the dog owner did not appeal.
They did. Oh, they went.
And there was a hearing?
Apparently there was a hearing. I don't know all of the details, but
Yeah,
yes, there was a hearing, and the dog has to be muzzled outside and all of the...
Well, then 3 people that were on the appeal panel must have been satisfied that there was a bite in any event.
Anyway.
Councillor Dubanow?
Yeah, Your Worship, thank you. That was what I was, basically, I was going to ask our town lawyer. I was thinking council with the different spelling, but there would be the confusion there. That's basically what I was going to ask our town attorney, was that, there would be nothing precluding the members of a dangerous dog hearing from hearing the evidence presented and making a determination based on, and if I can expand on that, even if there was a persuasive individual who did manage to convince, and I know this from experience, having sat on a dangerous dog hearing similar to this. Even if you have a persuasive individual who gets the support of, the animal control officer, even if the evidence doesn't, convince the members of the committee, there's nothing precluding the committee from denying the dangerous dog designation. Would that be correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Councillor Noyes?
Just to elaborate a little bit on that, there's two things here. There's potentially dangerous dog, which you don't necessarily need to get bit. If you read the dog bylaw, it's an interesting thing. Potentially dangerous dog means that if the dog sits there and growls at you or chases you or something like that, and seems like he's a mean-spirited dog, you can also ask that it be deemed a potentially dangerous dog. But it's more or less the witness part is where you don't necessarily need a witness to say that the bites happened. But I can see Councillor Christensen's position, but again, it is, the person has to be bit. Thank you.
Okay, because you're talking about specifically about a dangerous dog, which is a bite, as opposed to potentially dangerous. Okay, any further questions or comments? Okay, then I'm going to call the question on the motion. All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. Councillor Noyes, back to you for the next item.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dubanow. Establishment of the process for playground replacements to include the community council and appropriate committee involvement. Resolution, whereas the town of Fort Erie is committed to ensuring the safety of all residents and visitors, and whereas the town is dedicated to fostering meaningful public consultation, now therefore be it resolved, council directs staff to conduct detailed inspection of the playground equipment to assess its actual condition and life cycle, rather than relying solely on the timelines outlined in the asset management plan. And further, that before the scheduled replacement of the playground equipment, council directs staff to conduct a comprehensive public engagement process to gather input from the surrounding community, including consultation with the Accessibility Advisory Committee to ensure that the new playground access and equipment meet or exceeds the requirements for the accessibility and AODA standards.
Councillor Noyes, any comments?
Yeah, I just, it's unfortunate that this did not happen for the AC Douglas. That has been, what I've just read, has been my understanding in the past. I've sat on a number of playground, before before the contract is signed, I've had an opportunity of looking at most of the applications and the different proposals and stuff. And I've been in a few public meetings where the council, where open house was had with the different possibilities and the public being very committed and very involved in the process. And from each one of those processes, we learned a lot, and I think there was a much more buy-in from the community. And once you get buy-in from the community, they take somewhat of a more protective thing of their, making sure that it's well preserved, and they're not going to. I don't think they can stop somebody from doing bad things, but they have much more buy-in and acceptance of the park. And in regards to the timeline, AC Douglas Park, I think Ferndale Park was older than AC Douglas, but I don't know if you guys remember that the playground replacement suggestions in the past was 12 to 15 years. Ferndale is more than 20 years. I think it's replaced this year. And AC Douglas was, I think, in 2004 was when that one was built. So if we would have followed the guidelines, these parks, which were still very functional, would have been replaced 10 years ago, and we had 10 years of use out of it. I still feel that there are parts of AC Douglas Park we could have maintained based on the inspection, particularly the swings, but, it's done, they're gone. And we'll move forward. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Dubanow.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I'm agreeable to the intent of this, particularly the part about consultation with the Accessibility Advisory Committee and the inspection. Certainly, if if a resident complains, and I've had issues raised about parks in the past, I think it's only prudent of town staff to go out there, take a look and determine if it makes sense to either repair or to get to the point of, maybe this is beyond economical repair. Maybe we need to move this up and deal with it sooner. My only concern is, and perhaps it's a wording thing, I know when we do park reconstruction, so not just the playground equipment, but when we redo the landscaping, redo the pathways, the playing courts, we do a full comprehensive public engagement. Staff go out, they put up the boards, some different options, people pick. like they call it dotmocracy, where you kind of put the different dots on the board. Is that what Councillor Noyes is envisioning, something identical for just equipment replacements? Or is it something like for Let's Talk Fort Erie, where we could put a couple designs out, get some input? Because I'm not sure the first option, where we go to the full-blown, full public engagement, is necessary or warranted for playground equipment. We may be able to utilize some tools and resources to get input on that. I'm just wondering what Councillor Noyes' thoughts are, and just to get some clarification on where what her intent is.
Councillor Noyes?
I think we're probably on the same page. I am looking at the replacement of playground equipment. But yes, I do think that there should be, and what we've had in the past is exactly the dot that you had, that we basically, 2 or 3 providers of the playground had their visions, and there were play cards, and the kids could say, okay, I like this one, I like this one. And sometimes there's a combination. They liked particular apparatuses, and they would put, they would put their dots, exactly how you explain it, and then we could say, okay, they really like this particular apparatus, so let's see if we can incorporate this apparatus in this playground. So even though they had three visions from different providers, the providers could still change theirs, and they could add this apparatus into this vision here type thing. So I think we're on the same page. I'm not necessarily going beyond that at this point.
So the problem is the wording of the second paragraph says before the scheduled replacement of playground equipment. So that could theoretically be a slide in a whole park. And are you anticipating that there would be public consultation for replacement of part? Or was your anticipation, if there's going to be major replacement of equipment, that there should be consultation? Because at that point, there'd be opportunity for suggestions as to perhaps different equipment.
Again, I would say, I'm open to the latter. Like, I mean, I'm thinking about when you replace a playground completely, not if you're going to replace a slide or something has to be repaired. I'm not talking about that. Or if we find that something particular that's there is not safe anymore. I think we can all remember some things that we used to play on that aren't legal anymore, that there may be a good reason to remove that piece of equipment.
We're not bringing back the whirligig?
No, I'm not.
So could I suggest then that in the second paragraph where you say before the scheduled, you insert major, before the scheduled major replacement of...
That's fine.
And that indicates a scope. Yeah. Okay, and is your seconder agreeable to that? Very good with that. Okay. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Councillor Christensen?
I do have, I think it is wording. I understand, and this is the first paragraph. It's when I looked at this, conducting detailed inspections to assess rather than relying solely. I was sort of thinking that this was. I wasn't quite sure what I thought it was. Councillor Noyes' explanation, which she's spoken to in the past with respect to the fact that viable equipment that is still to standard and all of that need not necessarily be replaced with as driven by the asset management cycle. I understand that completely, and I'm not an expert, so yes, if we can economize and still have excellence, I'm happy. I'm more than happy. But there's something about the wording that, and I don't have any alternative wording, but it doesn't say that to me. It's almost as if we're going to be doing this all, and I guess it's the level of detailed inspections. That's maybe an awful lot of work that is entailed. So I don't know how we can clear it up. If anybody understands where I'm going with this.
I think we have to rely upon the fact that staff will, if they're going to be doing an inspection, and it turns out that the life cycle of a piece of equipment is such that it can continue to be used, I would hope that staff wouldn't be recommending at the budget time that they replace it. CAO, is that a fair observation, or are you going to contradict me publicly?
That would probably be a bad move, but I just wondered if Ms. Dilwaria had any further comments, since it's in her department.
Ms. Dilwaria?
Your Worship, I'm agreeable to, I had a discussion with Councillor Noyes, and I completely agree with what she's suggesting, that if that equipment is working, it's within it's safe for the children to play on, then we should continue with it instead of just replacing it. And we would be doing inspection moving forward for those equipments, and so that should help her out. That should satisfy that motion.
Councillor Christensen, you okay with that?
I'm fine. Yep.
Okay, Councillor Noyes?
I just wanted to say, I sit on the Fort Erie Not-for-Profit Housing, and what we do it, I think, every 2 years or whatever. We hire a playground inspector, and he comes and he looks at the playground inspection, and he checks this and he checks that, da-da-da-da-da-da. It doesn't cost us a heck of a lot of money, I think $600 or something. It's not a huge playground. And he tells us what we need to do from a liability perspective, and then we have a blueprint to say, okay, you need more of this, or this, this slide has to be whatever. But my problem in the past has been this all or nothing. Sometimes some pieces have to be replaced, others are not. And a good example is AC Douglas. We had a pink dragon, and the park was referred to the people as a pink dragon. Okay, there was nothing wrong with the pink dragon. It's now a purple dragon. It's a new dragon. But, okay, so...
Is that what this is all about?
It's all about dragons. And got to the point of this, yes. And I think the slides, I think that the swings were fine too. But anyway, I'm just saying, I don't know how much the dragon costed. How to Train Your Dragon is now on in the movie theaters, so anyway.
Okay, how about if we move this along? There being no other discussion, I'm going to call a question. All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. Okay, so you're finished on your motions, Councillor Noyes. Councillor Dubanow, you have a motion that you're going to be withdrawing?
Yeah, Your Worship, I gave notice regarding the holding provision on Walden Boulevard. I had a discussion with staff. Due to some procedural timing, the intent of this just wouldn't work, so I see no point in moving it forward and causing staff resources to sort this out. I just hope staff continue to look at this with all priority. We do need to move forward on this, but yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. And Madam Clerk, you did get the insertion of the word major in the second paragraph. Okay. That takes us to notices of motion. Any notices of motion? Councillor Dubanow.
Yeah, Your Worship, I'd like to give notice of motion regarding direction to staff to amend our rules of procedure to allow recorded votes in all meetings of council.
Okay.
That'll be returnable at our next council meeting, which is, I believe, August
25th?
That's correct, Your Worship. Thank you.
Any others? And I also, Madam Clerk, have a notice of motion returnable August 25th relative to the naming of the Niagara Parkway between Bowen Road and Netherby Road. It's been inconsistent. It's arisen before. There are a number of street signs that call it Niagara River Parkway, Niagara Parkway. There's even one someplace out in the rural part of the parkway where there's a Niagara Boulevard sign. So I will be taking that up with the Niagara Parks Commission as well, but I'm going to bring forth a motion on August the 25th. Yeah. As long as it's not Memorial Drive. Okay, Councillor Dubanow, you have the, are there any bylaws that anyone wishes removed from the package? And one of them should be 18.5, and we'll deal with that separately. And also, okay. Okay, we'll deal with those separately then.
Did you get mine?
Which one was that?
The 70-2025?
Yes, yeah, we're dealing with that separately. So 70 and 72 are separate. Yes, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Noyes, that the bylaw package containing 66-2025 to amend zoning bylaw 12990 as amended 745 Dominion Road, 67-2025 to authorize the entry into a collective agreement with the Canadian Union of Public Employees and its local number 714 for the period from January 1st, 2025 and December 31st, 2027, and repeal bylaw 121-2020, 68-2025 to deem a certain block on a registered plan of subdivision not to be a lot on a registered plan of subdivision, being Block 70, Plan 59M330, 0-9176 Gorham Road, Eyes Canada Childcare Incorporated, 69-2025 to amend zoning bylaw number 12990 as amended, housekeeping amendment, 71-2025 to amend bylaw 114-2019 to expand appointment of a hearing officer, and 73-2025 to assume secondary services within Peacebridge Village Subdivision, Phase 1, 59M 470, and Phase 2, 59M 488, Ashton Homes Western Limited, Aldo Versello, owner, are given first and second reading.
All those in favor? That is passed. Those bylaws then are on the floor for any questions or comments. If there are none, then Councillor Christensen, you have third and final reading. So all of the bylaws with the exception of 70 and 72.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that bylaws 66, 2025 to 69, 2025, 71, 2025, and 73, 2025 are given third and final reading. Oh, this is the wrong one.
To be signed by the mayor.
Okay, are given third and final reading to be signed by the mayor and clerk under the corporate seal.
Okay. Any questions or comments with respect to those bylaws? If none, all those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. So Councillor Dubanow, back to you with respect to bylaw 70.
Yes, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Noyes that bylaw 70-2025 to authorize the execution of the Bridgeburg North Secondary Plan Financial Agreement with 2627781 Ontario Incorporated, BBFC Holdings Incorporated, and 2585908 Ontario Inc. is given first and second reading.
All those in favor? That bylaw is on the floor then for any questions or comments. Councillor Noyes?
Thank you, Mayor Redekop. I'd like to make an amendment to Schedule A, which is the agreement between the town of Fort Erie and participating landowner groups and the trustee, bylaw number 70-2025, by adding paragraph 4.1 as follows. In the event that town staff determine in its sole and absolute discretion that a peer review is necessary with respect to any background study or part thereof, the cost of any peer review or review so required shall be borne by the participating landowners group without reimbursement from the town and paid for entirely upon the notification by the town that the peer review has been completed and a copy of the same provided to the participating landowners group.
Sorry, and who is the seconder for that?
Councillor Dubanow.
Okay. Okay, so that amendment is on the floor for any questions or comments. There being none, I'm going to call the question on the amendment. All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. Anything further with respect to bylaw 70 before I go to third and final reading? If not, Councillor Christensen, back to you for third and final reading for bylaw 70,
Thank you.
as amended.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that bylaw 70-2025 be approved, is given, as amended, is given third and final reading to be signed by the mayor and clerk under the corporate seal.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That is carried. So Councillor Dubanow, back to you then for bylaw 72.
Yes, Your Worship, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Noyes, that bylaw 72-2025 to amend traffic bylaw 2000-89, administrative and event no parking, is given first and second reading.
All those in favor? Okay, that's on the floor for questions or comments. I think I know where you're going on this. Councillor Dubanow.
Yes, Your Worship, on the second page of the bylaw, I note here that it appears that the speed limit at Town Line Road from a certain location is being reduced from 70 to 60, and I don't believe that was, and I could be wrong, maybe it was an oversight on the part of direction from council, but I'm just wondering if we could get some comment on that.
Yeah, that was an oversight. We had removed some from W, but Mr. Frost, is this your area?
Through you, Chair. I would have to just double check if that was an oversight by removing that or if it was intended for other purposes, but I do at this point believe it was an oversight.
I believe that we were eliminating, I thought we were eliminating Schedule W.
That's my understanding as well. I believe we were keeping the speed limit on Town Line Road. I'm just wondering if it was an issue with the direction that we gave. I don't think it was, but I want to give staff the benefit of the doubt because I'm not sure why that's there.
Yeah, so let me... So the... yeah, so it was appendix...
From what I recall, Your Worship, there was a bit of uncertainty because we wanted to maintain the recommendations for, I believe it was Far Avenue, as well as codifying what's already in place on Ridgeway Road.
So the resolution on July the last committee meeting, July the 7th, Schedule W, the resolution was that council directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaw amendment to the existing consolidated traffic and parking bylaws, 2000-89, Schedule W, speed limit on highways, and that was defeated. And these appear to be in Schedule W.
That's correct, Your Worship, and it's actually it's interesting because part of the speed limit is maintained, and there's strikeouts within it as well. And I mean, if we need to amend it, it's fairly simple to amend. I'm just curious why it's there.
Yeah, and you wouldn't. Do you have any knowledge of that, Madam Clerk? Why a part of Schedule W would be crossed out and the rest not?
It's specific for Town Line Road too. Like it's.
I apologize, Mayor. I don't have any reason.
Okay, so I'm going to suggest that we defer the decision regarding Town Line Road until that can be clarified. So we can deal with the bylaw as it's set out, but defer Town Line Road to the next council meeting to determine whether it should be left out or have been included. So Councillor Dubanow, would you like to move that amendment that we defer that, the reference to Town Line Road in Schedule W?
Yes, Your Worship. I'd like to move that we defer the reference to Town Line Road.
Okay. Do we have a seconder for that, Councillor Lewis? Okay, any questions or comments on that deferral? Well, there aren't any to the date. The date's the next regular council meeting. All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. Okay, so we're back to the amended bylaw 72. Does anyone have any further questions with respect to that before I go to third and final reading? Then over to you, Councillor Christensen. That's as amended.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that bylaw 72-7-2025 is, as amended, is given third and final reading to be signed by the mayor and clerk under the corporate seal.
Any questions or comments? Councillor Noyes? You're voting early. You only get to vote once. All those in favor? Okay, that is carried. So that takes us then to the confirmatory bylaw. Councillor Noyes, you have first and second reading of that.
Thank you, Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Flagg, that bylaw number 74-2025 to confirm the actions of council at its council and committee meeting held July 7th, 2025, and its regular council meeting held July 21st, 2025 is given first and second reading.
All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. Councillor Flagg, third and final reading.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Noyes, that bylaw 74-2025 is given third and final reading to be signed by the mayor and clerk under the corporate seal.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That is carried. That then takes us to scheduling of meetings. Are there any meetings forthcoming? Councillor Christensen.
Summer is moving quickly, I realize. On August 5th, the Planning Building Bylaw Services Business Subcommittee meets at 3:15 in Committee Room 1. And on August 6th, there are two meetings. The Senior Citizens Advisory Committee meets at 10 a.m. in Committee Room 1, and the Ridgeway BIA meets at the Crystal Ridge Library at 5:30 p.m.
Any other meetings? Okay, there being none, that takes us then to you, Councillor Dubanow.
It does, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Flagg, that council adjourns at 8:36 p.m. to reconvene into a regular meeting of council on August 25th, 2025.
All those in favor? Opposed? Councillor Lewis, you get to stay as long as you'd like. This meeting